In this episode, we're going to be interviewing 3 teachers to find out exactly how they feel about returning to school. If you want to hear what they have to say, you are in the right place. If you're new to this channel, welcome to our village. If you're a returning villager, welcome as well. So, let's get into it. Welcome to Garden of the Mind, where we reduce stress, improve our health and fitness, and improve our financial IQ every episode. Today is August 7th in New York City. This is the deadline for you to have chosen whether your child is going to remote learning, going to the brick and mortar school, or a bit of both. Now, whether you decided to send your child to school or not, have we considered how the school staff feels about it? Well, we've interviewed 3 school staff, 2 teachers, and 1 assistant principal to find out exactly what it is that they are feeling about this whole situation. So let's take a look.
I work at IS 59 in Springfield Gardens as a science and special education educator.
I am an IEP teacher. I service students with disabilities in middle school.
I'm an assistant principal.
If the schools open up, I will be going back to school if I am mandated to return to school. Honestly, I have a lot of anxiety about going back. I have a lot of anxiety about sending my children back to school. I have a 5-year-old and I have a 19-month-old going on 20 months, and I don't know how we're supposed to have them social distance. It brings us into the next question of if our children get this and it doesn't affect children the same way as adults, will they bring it back home to me? Will they bring it back home to their father, to their grandparents? You know, we have people who have ailments, people who don't have high immunity or immune systems for that matter. So what are we going to do? We can say we're protecting the children, but how are we protecting ourselves from the children?
I also feel like we're jumping into a school system when we already know that large crowds are preempt to getting coronavirus. So if we're going to continue to engage in assembly, we are going to continue to see the virus spread and go in circles. It doesn't matter how much PPE you put into a school building. If a child walks in there with coronavirus and coughs, the person next to them has a high risk of now getting the virus.
I'm not comfortable at all. I'm not even comfortable with sending my children back. And we have to make a decision by Friday, August 7th. And I want them to go back. I want them to socialize. But how far do I want them to socialize? Is it going to be harmful to them in the long run? Is it going to be harmful to us? I have no idea.
The mayor of LA actually said, we're not learning how to get past corona, we're learning how to live with corona at this point. So what are the needs that the children are going to need? They're going to have to be able to navigate through this trauma. A lot of children have lost loved ones or lost someone very close to them that had a loved one. So it's a scary factor, but we're really going to have to talk to these children about the trauma that they've faced, because as an adult, I feel that it's been traumatic for a lot of us.
Students are going to need support, and support looks like many different things. I think they're going to need virtual support to be able to transfer information from the textbook to the computer. They're going to need emotional support because this is a traumatic time and we don't know what's going on in their households. They're going to need physical support as far as being able to get back on track with academics. Like, we lost an entire semester essentially of schoolwork, so.
Stability, right? Something, even if we're talking about blended learning, we need a new way of thinking about things. Like, traditional school is no longer an option. As we move towards within the 21st century, we have to start thinking outside of the box. Schools have been in the same model since schools opened. It's time to shift. It's time to change.
Will I be returning back if I still have my job, yes, but will I be returning back if they say that we have to go back? I have to go back in. I'm becoming an essential worker. I'm becoming a nurse. So as a teacher, we have to deal with so many different facets of the education system. We have to be mommy, daddy, caretaker, educator, making sure that their social emotional needs are met, making sure, okay, Billy, stop touching Antoine. Antoine, stop touching this one. We have to think about all these different components. So if I have to go back, I have to go back. But I do feel that I'm being put in a situation that's very scary, and I don't think that we have been prepared for it enough as a whole.
So I don't feel comfortable at all, honestly. I feel like I'm terrified in some regard because physically entering the building right now means that I'm going to risk my family's health. It means that I'm going to get the people that I care about that have pre-existing conditions sick if I get sick. So I think that that's what I'm most terrified about. I understand that students and families want to get back. We want to get the economy booming. But how can we do that the traditional way without support, right? I think that the DOE should consider soft rollouts. We should consider doing soft rollouts of virtual access where September and November, maybe we're really investing in just how do you use these programs that we want you to develop throughout the school year with remote learning, and teaching teachers with kid-friendly material so they can then use that and deliver it to the students and their families, so that we can then transition into what a school building day will look like, into getting people back and assimilating into the school environment. But if we don't start off with a soft rollout of how to use the technology and how to rebuild back into the school day, or we need to work together and say, kids come first, safety is important, and once we can really create safe measures for our students, now we can talk about getting back into the physical building. Learning shouldn't stop, but we need to approach the situation a little differently.
As an assistant principal, you're supposed to be in the building. We have to supervise children, adults, other staff members. Of course you feel forced, but I'm still thinking about safety. And if I opt out for medical reasons, am I going to be penalized for that? In the long run, will I get my tenure? Will all these other things come into play? Will someone else, am I worried about someone else coming in and taking over my role? And then you think about children, right? Because that's why we're in this building. If they don't see that familiar face, what's going to happen? Are they going to start to think this such and such die, or whatever the case may be? I feel pressure, yes.
I do feel that we are being forced to come back. Forced is a very interesting word because we don't have a choice. You are allowed to stay home, work remotely if you are over the age of 65, if you have a medical condition, if you can prove that medical condition with a doctor's note. You are not allowed to stay home and work remotely in the fine print if you do not have child care. So you are inevitably forced to expose your children and send them back to school. You are also not allowed to stay home if you are putting someone that you love or that you take care of or live with at risk. So if my mother-in-law comes over and she has rheumatoid arthritis, if she comes over or she has any type of ailments, I have to say, I can't touch you, I can't be around you, you can no longer be around your grandkids, although we've socially distanced. So now we're exposing people, our loved ones who we've worked so hard to protect, to this virus because we are being forced to go back. I do feel that the economy is very important, that we don't want to struggle, but at the same time, when we compare this to the Spanish flu, no one talks about children's education during the Spanish flu. Not that it's not an important topic, but no one says, wow, those children really missed out on 6 months of education or 2 years of education. They had to learn differently because there was no remote learning during the Spanish flu, right? People say how many people died. And inevitably, we have to look at this situation and try to figure out how are we going to navigate through this as a whole without losing lives, because that's what this really comes down to, people's lives.
I feel forced in many aspects. I feel forced because I care about my kids. If they're going to be back in the building, I kind of feel like I have to be there to support them, especially if I know most of our parents are essential workers and they have no one to be there for them. So if the DOE and different school systems aren't going to partner with vendors and use schools as community spaces, then I feel like I have to be in the classroom with them because who else is going to be there to support them? So I feel forced in that regard of feeling like obligated.
We're not ready. We have to really think, be intentional in our thinking, and really plan this out to the best of our ability. If we had correct information, we could make informed decisions. And I don't think we have all the information yet to make an informed decision. but yet they still made a decision. We're going back to school in September.
If we are going back, we need to make sure that we are aware how to fully protect ourselves, that we're aware of how to use PPE properly, that we are aware of how to wash our hands properly, and how are we going to set boundaries for children that are growing up trying to learn where they fit into this big world. And children learn through play, but they really can't play anymore.
Kids, no matter what rules you place on them, are going to touch. Kids want to be interactive, whether they are touching their teacher to say hello or whether they are touching a classmate to share a bag of chips. Kids do not understand personal space. That is just how kids are, and you can have all the training in the world that you want at home. As soon as that child sits in the seat and they don't know who was sitting there before them and they just wanted that seat because it's their favorite seat, if that person had coronavirus and they jump into that seat, guess what? Now that child has coronavirus. So we're not doing enough risk management, in my opinion.
It's too many unknowns going on, and it's too many people with opposing agendas trying to force something on us that we're not really sure about. A lot of misinformation.
Well, you've heard exactly what it is that they have to say. Does that change your opinion at all? Is there other things that you want to contribute? Please put that in the comments. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up. If you like this channel, please subscribe. If you want to know when I post, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but not last Wednesday, sorry about that, please click on that notification bell so when you click it, you'll get a notification that a new video was created and you'll be one of the first ones to see it and know exactly what it is that we said here. And remember, thoughts are actions, words have power, and actions have consequences. I'll see you for our Monday portion. I'll see you then.